You're tuned in to the Dakota Housing Network on Supertalk 1270 and supertalk1270.com. In-depth discussion and analysis of real estate issues nationwide and those issues unique to our area. Our team of experts includes Joe Sheehan, Greg Larson, Dave Floor, Brian Ritter, and a great variety of guests. The Dakota Housing Network begins now on Supertalk 1270 and supertalk1270.com.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to a very sunny Thursday edition on the Dakota Housing Network.
It's a good thing the shades are drawn.
It's a fantastic thing the shades are drawn. I wouldn't be able to see anybody on this side of the room. That's what happens. Well, welcome, everyone. My name is Brian Ritter. I'm your host this morning on the Dakota Housing Network on Supertalk 1270 AM. I'm joined this morning by a couple of very special guests. We've got Jeff Sattler from Sattler Homes, as well as Dot Frank from the Bismarck Mandan Home Builders Association. Dot, Jeff, say hello.
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 See, John, a little more energy. A little more energy. Let's try that again. Say hello this morning.
Hello.
Thank you. That's what we're looking for here on Super Talk 1270. Some energy from our guests. That's what we need. As always, we're here to talk about all things happening in Bismarck and Mandan, and Dot is the executive director of the Bismarck Mandan Home Builders Association. Jeff, I believe, is on the board of the HBA as well. Is that correct?
Correct.
So, with all the stuff happening in Bismarck and Mandan, all the activity, we like to start off every show here when it's my edition of the Thursday talk show, talking about Bismarck Mandan, looking at Bismarck Mandan by the numbers, talking about some of the very key economic indicators, what's happening here. And we get these from the Bismarck Mandan Development Association Economy at a Glance. You can find those on our website at www.bmda.org. If you're so inclined, just go on the left-hand side there. Talk about workforce for a second. We're going to talk about labor here in a little bit, guys, a little later on down the show. But the workforce has grown. The workforce has definitely grown. You go back a year, and the latest numbers we have are from February. But you go back February 14, the workforce is a little over 70,000 people, about 70,500. And that sounds, I think if you ask most people on the street, I think that number would surprise them. You agree with that? I mean, I think most people, if you ask them how many jobs, how many people, I don't know if they say 70,000 people. But it's a good number. Well, fast forward now 1 year, February 15, 73,100 people. I think that number would surprise people even more, given the current labor situation. Unemployment rate. Well, unemployment, let's talk about that for a second. The latest numbers we have from Job Service indicate we have about 4,400 open jobs between Bismarck, Mandan, Burley, Morton County. Does that shock you? Does that surprise you? Anybody?
That's a small town in North Dakota.
It's a good-sized town in North Dakota, Dot.
It's incredible. I mean, you referenced how we have more people that are in the workforce participating actively in our community, yet we're still not keeping pace with the job availability. So while that's growing, which is really exciting, we need to grow it that much faster to help fill those vacancies we're seeing throughout town.
Oh, absolutely, no doubt. And I think what's key, or what's important to consider, is that number has grown just in the last 2 months. Between February and March, we added about 600 to 650 jobs in Bismarck and Mandan in terms of openings. And then between March and April, it was another 300 or so. So just in those last couple of months, it's grown by that much. And a lot of people ask the question, well, why is that? Well, I think I'm sitting next to two of the reasons why. It's the construction season. It's the construction season, ramping up those jobs. That's why you see the change in the market. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, we have a lot of seasonal workers in our community, and just based on the climate that we experience here in the Midwest. So it's no surprise that you see a spike in employment and workforce numbers in the spring.
Unemployment rate, what do you think it is?
Unemployment rate?
Yeah.
What it is or what we want it to be?
Don't look at my sheet either, Dot. Tell me what you think the unemployment rate is. Don't cheat.
Unemployment rate, I would say, is between 3.5% and 4%.
3.9. I saw you eyeball that sheet.
I did. I looked over.
That's fine.
Wandering eyes.
That happens. That happens here. Now, that many more people in the workforce, there's a lot of dollars being spent in our economy. There's a lot of dollars being circulated. And the best indicator we have of that are generally either taxable sales and purchases or sales tax collections. Remember, in Bismarck and Mandan, you've got a 5% sales tax from the state. We have 1% from the cities, and now we have a 0.5% from the counties. And so that sales tax is collecting right now. Let's go back 1 year. Last year in Bismarck, that sales tax generated, or that 1% generated $1.7 million. In Mandan, $221,000. Now that is up. And in Mandan, I'm going to ask Dot as a former Mandan City Commissioner, you've seen that number climb, over the last 3-4 years. What do you attribute that to, Dot?
Kyle, I mean, you're starting to see a lot more retail activity, and if you look at the commercial construction that's taken place in our community over the past several years, it's phenomenal. You know, for a while there, Mandan was fairly stagnant in investments of that capacity, but we've seen that spike as of late, and that's all contributing to higher sales tax collections. You take a look at the major retailers, obviously a large portion of that increase over the course of the last several years is Walmart and the sales tax that they're generating for our community. But you know, you look at Main Street, Mandan, and on the Strip. I mean, you drive by and there's construction consistently, and there's, you know, the smaller retail shops and boutiques that we're seeing on Main Street, and larger investments by some of the recreational type retailers on the Strip. It might be the same company, but they're expanding exponentially, and that just leads to increased sales. So it's of no surprise, and it's really exciting to be a member of the Mandan community right now from a sales tax perspective.
Oh, absolutely. And then as part of our mission and part of our role for the community, we oftentimes, in the city of Mandan, we will go outward and we will try to attract retail to the community. In the city of Bismarck, we don't do that, but it comes to us. We'll get inquiries from local entrepreneurs, existing businesses, or, very exciting to some, new franchises, new chains, what's coming to the market. And generally, they'll ask us one or two questions. One, they want to know traffic counts. Where are cars driving by? Where are cars driving by that you're going to get the most visibility? The second thing they're going to ask us is going right back to that question. It's how much money is being generated in this market. So we talked about sales tax. Well, that sales tax is being collected on taxable sales and purchases. Every single dollar being spent in this market is generating some type of tax. Not everything is subject to sales tax, but most. Well, you look at 2013's total. If we took Burley-Morton County, took all those dollars spent in the market, it was about $2.183 billion. $2.183 billion. 2014's total numbers about 2.2. So that's some pretty sizable growth. What's important is to take into consideration the perspective, the long-term view. Because you go back to 2002, before Pinehurst Square was built, before you saw some of this influx in new retail, this market was only generating over $1 billion, about $1.06 billion. You go back to 2002. Now, fast forward 12 years, that number's doubled. I mean, to me, that is flabbergasting. There's a word you don't use every day, right? Flabbergasting. It's a huge increase. A little over $1 billion to 2.2. That's incredible. And I think most people would agree it's been due to a number of different factors. I mean, you've got obviously more jobs in the market. Home building, of course, is a robust industry. The Bakken is no small part of that, certainly. I think everyone understands that in Bismarck and Mandan, the economy is not driven solely by what happens in these two cities or even these two counties. You could probably go on the map. If we had a map on our imaginary wall here, we could draw a big circle, probably about 100 miles wide in all directions, and we are getting people from all those directions, whether it's coming here for healthcare, for retail, for services. All those dollars come to this market. So a number of different factors. Very exciting. Of course, the concern, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later on in the show, is labor. With an unemployment rate that low, and it's going to get lower over the course of the summer. I mean, these 3.9 numbers, this is February. So it's going to get lower as the season ramps up. It is a concern, and we hear about it from retailers all the time. But we'll talk more about that here a little bit later on in the show. But right now, I think we'll go to break with Jim here. I don't know what music we've got. He promised some summery music. So we'll take you out here on Super Talk 1270.
Currently, it's 63.
Get the traffic and weather information you need anytime on Super Talk 1270 and online at supertalk1270.com.
And we're back here this morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Brian Ritter. I'm the host of your show. You're listening to the Dakota Housing Network here on Super Talk 1270. It's a call-in show, folks. So if you hear anything that Dot says that offends you, that makes you want to call into the station.
Gee, I'm coming back again as a guest.
Call in at 663-1270, and she'll be happy to take on your complaints one by one. Come on, Dot. Help us out.
We were friends. We were friends before break. I don't know anymore.
That was 18 long minutes ago, Dot. During the break, when you weren't making fun of my shoes, we were talking about residential new construction, talking about the number of permits. We've had a great spring. We've had a great start, minus the wet weather probably last week. We've had a great spring. Would you agree, Jeff? I mean, it's been a good start so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think we could have asked for a better, drier spring than we had, besides one hiccup of a week that was wet.
But if we go back a year, I mean, it was a totally different story, was it not?
Yes, last year was a struggle all through the year with wetness.
And that's obviously a big deal here. Here in North Dakota, weather is a part of life, and if you don't like it, just wait 10 minutes; it'll change.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we talked about here was look at the number of permits, look at the number of houses being built. And again, we get this number from cities and the counties. Year to date, if you go back to the first 3 months of 2014, we had 56 total single-family permits issued. You go down to the same period this year, there's 54. So it's about it's about an even number, about the same number. But again, we've got Dot and Jeff here from the Bismarck Mandan Home Builders Association, and we want to talk about how much home building means to Bismarck and Mandan, because it means a tremendous amount, and you guys are doing some great work with that market. So tell us a bit more about those numbers and what they really mean to this community's economy.
Yeah, I think one thing that people oftentimes don't take the time to consider is the economic impact that housing brings to a community. It's one of the largest producers of indirect economic impact that a city can experience. And NAHB, our National Association of Home Builders, has some really great statistics. They've spent some time taking a look at not only the value that construction brings, so the expenditures that builders like Jeff has going into the project to buy the materials. They look at the wages he's paying his employees. They're looking at the impact that it has when he's picking up the lumber at the lumber yard and the employment that that's creating for the community. And when you look at that and you expand out to the impact that the construction has of single-family homes, they take a look at 100. So the impact of 100 new single-family homes. You talked about year-to-date numbers. We're at 54. So we're halfway to the 100 mark, and it's only the month of May. So once we hit 100 new single-family homes, according to statistics, that is creating 297 full-time jobs.
Wow.
100 new single-family homes is contributing $28 million in wages and business income, and an additional $11.1 million in federal, state, and local tax revenue. That's some big money that is being contributed by homes. And it's not just the purchase price that the consumer pays that's contributing to the economy. It's all of the costs and expenditures along the way that really add up, that are creating jobs for people and opportunities to come to our community.
Now, you're right. Those are some big numbers, and they mean some great things for Bismarck and Mandan. But again, the Bismarck Mandan Home Builders Association, you're a critical part of this market. You're a critical part of that type of activity. Tell us a bit more about the who's, the what's, the whys of what your organization does.
Yeah, so our organization really exists to promote the home building industry. And so we serve as advocates for our builder and associate members, keeping an eye on legislation, codes, and ordinances that impact construction, not only impact access to construction, so being able to build out these single-family, multifamily commercial structures, but ensuring that the rules and regulations enacted don't have a negative impact on people's ability to obtain housing. And that's one thing that we've spent a lot of time as of late talking about is the impact that your local commissioners can have on your ability to access housing through their codes and ordinances, and the amount of money that can contribute to the final purchase price of your house. In fact, the statistics show that on average, it's between 20-25% of the cost of your home is tied to the ordinances that are impacted, whether it's complying with the EPA requirements, whether it's complying with your county and city rules and regulations, permit fees, and the like. And so that's something that we as an association really try to keep tabs on and communicate with our elected officials as well as our department heads on the impact of those decisions on consumers' ability to afford a home.
Dot, go back for a second. Did you say 20 to 25% of the cost can be directly tied back to regulation and back to
Yeah. So we have a lot of insight from the National Association of Home Builders, where they again have the resource house to look into this information, and it compiles and compounds fast. You don't think about the cost of obtaining the permits, the time put into getting that paperwork in place, the amount to comply to rules and regulations tied to energy codes, the types of insulation that you're obligated to go into or utilize because of those federal, state, and local standards. And so all of that can add up in the price of a home. And the one thing is that's really exciting working for the Bismarck Mandan Home Builders Association is we have a great group of contractors. A lot of contractors, they stand by their word. They've got quality products, which was exhibited most recently during our Parade of Homes, and they're building solid houses. One thing that we're really cognizant of because of affordability, and it's becoming an issue in our community, is that we're trying to keep costs at a minimum and consumer choice as a high option when it comes to construction. construction.
That's a great segue, Dot, because you mentioned the Parade of Homes. Now, when you think of, I think with most of us in the community who aren't involved in the HBA, think of the association. I think one of the most visible examples is the Parade of Homes. Now, tell us, I mean, you just got done with Parade of Homes just a couple of weeks ago. Tell us a bit more about how that went and kind of what the event is.
Yeah, so, we do a lot of kind of behind the scenes work on behalf of our members. That's that advocacy work and outreach, education that we offer and networking. But from the public's perspective, when you hear HBA, you think of two things. You think of our home show, which we host annually, and you think of our Parade of Homes.
Absolutely.
We host the Parade of Homes twice throughout the year. We have a spring Parade of Homes, which we just wrapped up. That's over the course of 2 weekends. And then we have our fall Parade of Homes, which is coming up in September. That's over the course of 1 weekend. The spring Parade of Homes is an excellent experience and opportunity for people who are out in the home buying market or those who are just looking for inspiration, because we've got a lot of remodeler members as well. We had 43 homes on tour, which was incredible, and it really is indicative of the market right now. Those were constructed by 33 different builders, so a lot of variety in the styles of construction and the types of structures. We ushered more than 3,500 adults through those homes in the course of 2 weekends. It's a lot of foot traffic.
It's a lot of foot
traffic. A lot of foot traffic. And so it's an incredible opportunity for us to really showcase the skills of our trade, which is home building and construction, and get people kind of a taste of what is available when it comes to new construction. New construction offers some unique opportunities, unlike existing construction, which I'm sure Jeff could talk about. Jeff as a member of the board and also one of the home builders, is an excellent example of a builder who really is in tune with technology. Jeff is my go-to guy when it comes to anything that is tech-related. And that's one thing that is advantageous of new construction is they're being built to accommodate existing families' needs, which includes access to technology, increased efficiencies, and anything else, Jeff, that you've seen as of late.
Technology, I mean, a lot of people, we don't see a ton of the smart homes, unless you get into the real expensive markets. But yeah, more and more people have Cat 5s going to different areas or landlines, or, we see Wi-Fi locations is the biggest thing, that people worry about.
I want to ask another question to Jeff. You go back to the Parade of Homes. I think a lot of us are familiar with the Parade of Homes as called a visitor, called an attendee, if you will. And we're going through homes, looking for new ideas, things like that. But from a builder's perspective, is the Parade of Homes really kind of just another form of advertising for you, another way to get your name out, to showcase your product? What's the value for you as a builder?
It can certainly be great advertising. If you have the spec house that's on the market, can help you sell the house. You get a ton of people that walk through the house to look at them.
So has you found, Jeff, in the past it's been good to generate new business? People come and they might see a home that you've done. Maybe it's already been sold. Maybe it's in a spec house. But it's led to more business. And they come to you saying, hey, I saw a great project you guys did. I want you to do something for me now. Has that happened for you in the past?
The last house that we had in the spec or in the Parade of Homes, I believe we sold 2 or 3 more of that exact model afterwards.
So the answer is a big fat yes.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Now, another event that I've attended with the HBA and something I found very informative is the Building Officials Roundtable. Again, going back to that advocacy, what you do on behalf of your members. That Building Officials Roundtable, Dot, can you tell the audience a little bit more about what that is and why that event came to be?
Yeah, because we are impacted, and consumers at the end of the day are impacted on the rules and ordinances of a community. We host twice annually a Building Officials Roundtable where we invite the building officials. So, you've got everybody from permitting and inspections to maybe planning and zoning or community development that we encourage to come, commissioners included, twice a year to meet with our builders to talk about expectations during this construction season, any kind of revisions to ordinances, new ordinances that we're going to be experiencing this year, so that we can really kind of hear what we should be anticipating from a construction perspective, but more often than that, provide an opportunity to our builders to engage in discussion with those building officials, outside of running into the offices to get the permit. They can spend some time to discuss and deliberate and talk about, I guess, in detail what a decision at a city or county level means for them out in the field. Because, you can have the best of intentions, but unless you're out there doing the work, you might not realize whether this is the most efficient method to achieve that goal that the ordinance has set, or if there's maybe a different means to get to that outcome.
The last Building Officials Roundtable I attended, I wasn't able to get to the last one you had, but I came to one, I believe it was the end of November, early December. And it definitely has the attention of local government, because I sat next to Bismarck Mayor Mike Seminary, and the other side of him was Bismarck City Commissioner Peril Grossman. And I don't know that they would have been there unless they really saw the value in what you were doing, and if they didn't see the value in having all those building officials in one place. Because, again, your members are doing business not only in the city of Bismarck, city of Mandan, the 2 counties, and the surrounding areas, Lincoln included. And so there's a great value, I think, in having all those people at one place. I mean, the feedback you've gotten very positive?
Yeah, because we are a close-knit community, we have to be communicating together on any kind of changes or enforcement when it comes to the codes, because we want to have that consistency from one community to the next. So not only is it an opportunity for us to get in front of all the building officials at one time, it's an opportunity for the building officials to network with each other and talk about what it is that they're working on and whether or not you want to follow suit at a county or a different city level.
When we come back from the break, I mean, we're going to go break in here about 1 minute, and when we come back, we're going to talk about another event that you had mentioned earlier. I think a lot of people are familiar with. That's the Bismarck Mandan Home Show, a huge thing. I think we've all been to at least one. And then we're going to talk about trends, because, again, going back to what Jeff talked about earlier with technology, things are changing. People expect more of their homes. They want to see different features in their homes, and I'm guessing you see a lot of that happening at the home show. So we're going to go to break here on Super Talk 1270. Jim has some more summer selections for us. And so with that, we'll talk to you in a little bit.
Currently, it's 63.
Get the app called Radio Pup for your iPhone and take us everywhere you go. Bismarck and Mandan's own Super Talk 1270.
I'm just going to listen to the music for a little bit, Jim. Just go ahead. I'm not going to talk. We're going to just postpone the show. A little Bryan Adams flashback. We're back here at Super Talk 1270. Our guest this morning, I'm your host, Brian Ritter. Our guests are Jeff Sattler, who is a board member for the Bismarck Mandan Home Builders Association, and Dot Frank. She is the executive director for the HBA. And before the break, we talked about one of your most visible events, the Bismarck Mandan Home Show. Dot, I think a lot of us has been to a home show in the past. I think a lot of us have seen the home show. But tell us a little bit more about the home show and really what it brings to the community.
Yeah, so the home show, again, is a way for our association to exhibit the talents and products that our members are putting forward. And that includes everyone from home builders to associate members. So our lighting companies, our HVAC guys, our cabinetry and countertop members. And it really gives the public an opportunity to see the latest and greatest when it comes to home building and home products. And so you're seeing, products where it's the automatic water dispenser or faucet, where you just kind of can touch it with an elbow and it starts spewing your water. You're seeing the technology that people are incorporating into their outlets, where instead of just a 3-prong outlet, you have now a USB connection. So it's an excellent opportunity for you to, in one place, in one venue, not only meet and greet with all the various home builders and developers, but see the products and services that are provided in our community here in Bismarck Mandan.
Talk about how much that show has grown, because you're talking to somebody who's born and raised in Bismarck Mandan, has been to shows before, and it just seems like each year it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, so, we're really benefiting from the home building and home remodeling craze that's being fueled by Pinterest and House.com and HGTV. So that's been very beneficial. People are really interested in the aesthetics of their home. And so they're taking the time to do the research, to look for the right products that their family would utilize. And so that's really helped with our home show event. Along with that, we've got a great group of members right now who are active and engaged and getting out there and making themselves available. We entertained a record number of exhibitors this past year, as well as record attendance. We had over 7,700 people that came through the home show, which was incredible for us. It was completely chaotic on Friday, but in a good sense. And we had excellent traffic on Saturday. Sunday, we had a little battle with Mother Nature. That's when we had kind of our first taste of summer. After spending some long days and nights in the middle of winter. But all in all, an incredible amount of people that came through the doors. And it's not just, you referenced earlier, the draw to our community extends beyond Bismarck, Mandan, Lincoln, Burlington, Morton counties. I mean, we have people coming from across the state to experience our home show and see what products and services are available.
Well, Dot, you mentioned earlier that the home show is a place where people come to get ideas, come to see what's happening new, what are new in trends and what's happening. A question for Jeff now as a builder. When people come to you and they're looking for that new home, they're looking for you to build that home, what kind of trends or what kind of considerations are they giving? Are they generally coming to you with? Is it location? Is it proximity to good schools? Proximity to Buffalo Wild Wings? I mean, are they coming to you with certain considerations, or is it just, I'm going to build a new home and this is exactly what I want?
Absolutely. Most people have a location that they want to be in, but other people, not definitely as popular, but other people just have the house and they want to be somewhere within their budget. Don't really care.
So that budget consideration is generally, first factor.
Absolutely.
Okay. What is the most unusual thing anybody's ever come to you with? When they've said, I want you to build my home. I want to have a statue I want a 9-foot statue of a cat in front. Anybody ever come to you with something like that? Do they come to you with unusual requests?
Usually not. It's usually
The 9-foot cat
requests
doesn't
that
happen?
they've found on Houzz and other websites alike.
Are they realistic about it? If they found something on Etsy or they found something on Pinterest, do they come to you thinking, well, we can do this for a couple extra bucks, right? Are they realistic about it?
Some, yes.
You said some, not all.
Well, what I'd
Not
be
all.
interested in hearing from Jeff is, because we've got so many people that are highly educated in the opportunities that exist for home decor and design, are they realistic about the price and the cost associated with that? Because one thing that always really surprises me, because, we've done our fair share of remodeling projects and home purchases, yet I'll watch some of these shows, the flip shows or the renovation shows on TV, and I am shocked at how inexpensive it is to do an entire kitchen remodel for them in California or in the middle of New York City, yet for me in North Dakota, things just don't jive. So are they getting away with $10,000 for a complete renovation in a kitchen?
You can, again, but most of the TV shows, no. Not that I see when I see prices of the actual products that they're putting in there.
Interesting. When we talk about Bismarck and Mandan, again, and I think, Dot and Jeff, I think, are just like me. All grew up here. So when you think about how Bismarck Mandan's grown, it is a real thing now to say, I'm going from South Bismarck to North Bismarck, or I'm going from South Bismarck to Northwest Mandan. Commute times, locations, those things are a real consideration at this point. When people come to you again, do people have a defined preference? Is there a hot location right now? I know you guys have some developments in South Bismarck, North Bismarck. Have you seen any trends really? Are you seeing some hot locations?
Well, the north side of town is definitely more popular in today's current market.
Okay.
And I love the south side of town for the main reason of there's less wind. You can hide on the south side of Bismarck. But the north side, people love it because it's higher. People are worried about flooding sometimes on the south side, which in today's areas, I don't think that's a huge potential.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because that's, I was building my home in one of Jeff's developments, during the flood of 2011. I was the only home down there being built. It's a little disconcerting. But at that time, and again, I grew up in South Bismarck, that had never happened before. We never remembered that. And I remember thinking, people told me, you'll never be able to sell that house. You built in South Bismarck, you'll never be able to sell that house because of the flood. Well, guess what happened? The very next year, there were like 15 houses built in my neighborhood. Do you think, did you see a slowdown, or did you see people maybe with a reluctance to go to South Bismarck or even South Mandan after that happened?
Yeah, a little bit, and I think a lot of what drove the market to the south side was less lot selection up north at that time. But I don't know if people just weren't worried about it because they saw the actual effect it had, and how the city was going to protect them.
Dot, we've talked about the HBA being a resource and an advocate for its membership. Do you ever get calls from the general public? Do people ever come to you? And they're asking you about, hey, I need a referral for this, or who are your members who can help me out with a remodel? Do you get those type of inquiries?
Oh, absolutely. And we encourage community members to reach out to the HBA as a resource for them. Not only do we provide a lot of benefits to our members, but from the community's perspective, we can assist you with, information you need to know about how to get started with new home construction. Everywhere from financing 101 to how to talk to or ask questions of a prospective builder. And of course, referrals. That's one of the benefits our memberships realize is, being a part of our association. When someone calls and says, hey, I need a custom home builder, well, we can pull up our roster of custom home builder members and supply those names. If you need someone to do some plumbing work for you, same thing. So yeah, definitely a resource for the community at large. We have a lot of excellent information on our website. In fact, we've got a section dedicated to consumers. If they go to the resource section, we've got some links to additional insight on home construction and home purchases that they can utilize as they begin their search for home ownership.
I think a lot of people will be surprised to know kind of the variety of members, both, your builder members and associate members that you have that are really part of the HBA, because an organization like ours, certainly we're an associate member. You've got the board of realtors as well. But you've got banks, you have retail stores. I mean, talk a little more about the variety and kind of the depth and breadth of your membership.
Well, I mean, it goes back to our earlier conversation on the economic impact that housing has. I mean, it'd be hard to say that you can't draw a line from housing to everything in this community. You know, it might be a little longer at certain points or, bends and turns, but everything can come back to housing. And so that's why, as an association, we've been very fortunate in the robustness and diversity of our members because they see that connection. We work cooperatively with the school district at time because we see the connection between housing availability and the impact on, student numbers in a school. We have conversation continually with the city because of all the impacts there. Retailers will look to us. You talked about rooftops. Rooftops matter. And so we serve as a resource for them when they want to look at, what are you anticipating this year when it comes to new construction and home ownership. And so, all of those roads lead to housing, and that's a reason why we have such a diverse list of members.
Where that question came from for me was the HBA does a great newsletter, is the Building Buzz. It's a great source of information. We get it in our office. And as I was going through the board, and the board listing, of course, Jeff being a member of that board, there was a pretty good variety of representation. I mean, it wasn't just custom home builders. There were bankers on there. There were home builders. It was a pretty good variety of people, and that depth, that variety of expertise, I think lends itself to creating a much stronger organization. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they serve as resources for each other. And so when you're at a networking event or you're sitting around a board meeting, if a builder is struggling with, accessing capital, you have that resource available there to, share opportunities that may exist to solve that problem and vice versa. We've got a board member who works for the radio station, and if he's looking to recruit someone to come in and work for their organization, he can turn to one of the builders and say, hey, what you got available? So it's really neat to see those relationships develop, and it's really about who you know when it comes to getting things done and making progress in a community.
Jeff, we've talked a lot about the HBA and what it does, obviously you being part of that board. Dot has talked a lot about and shown us great examples of how really that variety of representation you have, and that referral resource that you've had. Would you say you've seen that in your time on the board? I mean, people coming to you from all different types of backgrounds, coming to you looking for that expertise.
Absolutely. I haven't been on the board all that long as of yet, so probably not as much as some of the people who've been there much longer. But yeah, people always have questions.
Would you say also from a customer perspective, people take some comfort in knowing that you are a Home Builders Association member? They see that HBA, you're part of that parade of homes, brings some credibility or at least gives them some more sense of comfort that you are a great builder?
Absolutely.
That's great. Well, again, we're going to go for our last break of the show. Jim's got even more summertime. This is Kid Rock, I think, Jim. Well played. Coming back here on Super Talk 1270.
It was 1989, my thoughts were short, my hair was long.
Currently, it's 66.
Sean Hannity, weekdays at 2, only on Super Talk 1270.
And we're back, everyone. We're back for the last about 10-15 minutes of Thursday's show. My name is Brian Ritter. I'm your host. I'm joined today by Bismarck Mandan Home Builders Association Executive Director Dot Frank, as well as Jess Sattler, who's a board member. And before the break, we were talking about some things impacting building in Bismarck and Mandan, trends, location, things like that. But you've got a big month coming up here pretty soon from the home building industry. Talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, so June is National Home Ownership Month. So it's an opportunity for our association to share with consumers the benefits of investing in home ownership. And so, really pay attention to our presence on social media. You can find us on Facebook by looking for BMHBA. And we have daily posts on the benefits of home ownership. And it'll take you to additional information about home ownership, statistics tied to, its impact on education, its ability to help you secure your financial future. So it's going to be an exciting month for us to promote the National Home Ownership Month.
So let's talk about home ownership and home building in Bismarck, Mandan a little bit more here for the last part of our show today. We've got a great market right now, and home building is going, I think, very well. And we've heard some statistics that indicate that. But certainly there are issues that complicate that market. There are issues that affect that market. Talk about weather. I mean, we live in North Dakota. It snows, it rains, and it changes, and it's tough to deal with sometimes. We talked a little bit earlier in the show about the difference in terms of the weather this building season versus last building season. Now, Jeff, aside from just even getting into the ground in the spring, I mean, do you just bank on a certain amount of days that you just won't be able to work because of weather during any given season?
Yes.
I mean, but how do you deal with it? I mean, how do you mitigate it? Do you just grin and bear it? Is that what you got to do?
That's the only option I have most time.
Can you plan for it? I mean, is there any way to even, try to plan for it? Do you just build it into generally your construction timelines?
Well, we don't really even plan for it. It's something you can't plan for because nobody knows when it's going to rain and when it's going to be too cold to work outside, things along those lines.
Because if you did, you wouldn't be building homes. You'd be doing something different, right?
I'd be sitting in an office.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. How about labor for a second? Because, again, we talked right at the outset of the show, the unemployment rate is extremely low. The size of the labor force is getting bigger, but yet we still have more than 4,000 open jobs. Jeff, how many? You guys are a pretty good-sized company, been in the market for a long time. How much does labor affect your business right now?
Hugely. If we can't find the people to be on the framing crews, the finish crews, the siding crews, that part of the piece of the pie stops. And either we have to sub it out or hire people to do the work. And all the subs are busy with everybody else. So a lot of times it's hard to find them if you need them on the spot.
Do you find, are there less people coming into the industry as a whole? Are there less people getting into carpentry or the trades that you need?
Well, from my time in the company, I think it's increased, but the amount of output from more and more builders has also increased.
Okay. When it comes to training that workforce, I imagine a lot of that happens on the job, but the Home Builders Association does have some professional development, I imagine, that you guys do, Dot?
So what we do is we really help to work cooperatively with Bismarck State College's carpentry program. One of the things that we work towards on an annual basis is contributing to a scholarship program. So the association funds 3 $1,000 scholarships to students who are pursuing carpentry and home building trades. And so that's a real unique opportunity for the home builders to give back to local youth that are coming into our type of industry. And so that's something that excites us. Some of our sister associations, Fargo specifically, has the population and the community colleges to support student chapters. So you'll see that throughout the area. Hopefully in Bismarck Mandan Home Builders Association's future, that's something that we can pursue. But it's interesting as, the job availability increases and the wages follow suit, and we educate students on their opportunities to be financially successful working in the trades. I think that's really helped. Kids are opening their eyes to the wages that are accompanying the work that Jeff is making available through those trades. And so if you're interested at all in home building as a profession, again, reach out to us as an association and we can point you in the right direction.
Because, let's tie those two together, weather and labor. Because we are what we are, and we have a winter that in a lot of cases, prohibits home building. I know it doesn't stop completely anymore. Like I think at one point it did in this market. But do you think part of the challenge in terms of people getting into this market, into that skill set, into that career, is just that it's outside? It's tough work. That weather. Listen, I'm an inside guy working in an office. You're not going to find me outside when it's raining. I'm going to find me in tears. But do you find that from people if they're thinking about the market, they're thinking about a job with you, just don't want to do it? It's outside. They want to deal with the weather.
I'm sure that's on the back of their minds, but if you want to be in the construction industry, you're going to be outside in the weather. So you're getting the people that like to be outdoors.
Oh, that's good. Now, we talked about Dot mentioned earlier, home ownership. And home ownership, of course, includes the work being done in terms of new construction by the great folks at the Bismarck Mandan HBA, but also includes certainly existing housing in Bismarck and Mandan. And we've got Greg Larson here as well from the Bismarck Mandan Board of Realtors, and talking about the real estate market in terms of single-family homes. He just passed me some breaking news, a note here. It says first quarter sales in 2015 were about the same as they were in 2014, but the average sales price is up about 5%. Now, if you go back to numbers that we got from the Board of Realtors as well, the average sale price, let's go back to the number of units sold. To Greg's point, first 3 months of 2014, 244 single-family units sold. First 3 months of 2015, 203. It's a little bit of decrease, but not a huge variation. The biggest change is in that second number. It's in that price. You look at the average home being sold in 2014, first 3 months, average sale price $239,900. It's about a $240,000 home. First 3 months of 2015, $260,000. I can tell you that from the Bismarck Mandan Development Association's perspective, The cost of housing, the cost of construction, it's a factor. It's something that we see. We just a couple months ago now, launched a formal talent attraction campaign for Bismarck, Mandan, Burley, Morton County. One of these specific trades that we're going after, one of the specific skill sets, is the trades. It's carpentry, it's boilermakers, it's welders. It's those things we need so much here. But one of the challenges that we find, and I'll be curious to hear this from Dot and Jeff's perspective as well, is that the cost of housing in Bismarck, Mandan compared to the rest of the country, we're actually above average now. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, one thing, though, that we continue to be fortunate of is the fact that interest rates are incredibly low. So while we have seen an increase in the average home price and the entry-level home price, buyers are still benefiting from the low interest rates. The one thing that also is really encouraging for those who are considering home ownership, whether it's new construction or you're working with our friends at the Realtors Association on existing home purchases, is the fact that North Dakota makes available a lot of resources for first home buyers or, even second or third time buyers. The North Dakota HFA has incredible resources and opportunities. They've recently modified some of their programs to make them more flexible to existing, prospective buyers. So if you think that it's unaffordable, stop and have the conversations with your lender first and foremost, your realtor on top of that, your home builder, and check out those resources that our state makes available.
All right. Dot, we've got about 3 or 4 minutes left. Jeff, you too. Anything else that we didn't cover today? Because we've talked about a lot, and you guys have a lot to talk about because you are doing so much. What else do you want to leave listeners with about the Home Builders Association? What else do you want them to know about what it is that you do and why you're so important to this community?
We really want people to be aware of the fact that home ownership has always, and we anticipate will always continue to be one of those American dreams. Despite the fact that prices are what they are when you're picking up the real estate magazines or flipping through the newspaper or online, it still is achievable, and it's something that you should strongly consider. There are excellent studies that showcase the benefits of home ownership, not only from a financial planning perspective, preparing yourself for retirement once that day arrives, but the impact that having a house has on families, relationships, children's ability to be successful in school. It all comes back to housing. We have beautiful homes in the Bismarck-Mandan community, and we have very impressive, reputable builders like Jeff right here in Sattler Homes. Use us as a resource to begin that conversation, to get excited about the opportunities that exist. Attend our Parade of Homes this fall and our home show this coming spring and see, where you fit in the community as a homeowner.
I want to leave the audience with this today. Again, the economy in Bismarck and Mandan is doing so well. And again, home building, that entire market is a critical piece of that. And when we talk about and we try to sell this community as a place to do business, and we try to sell this community as a destination, because again, we've got to fill thousands of jobs. And so we can try to grow our own, which we're working very hard to, and it sounds like the HBA is as well, or we have to attract new talent. Well, what better way to showcase our community than the aesthetically pleasing homes that, again, Jeff from Sattler Homes and so many other members are bringing to this community. It's a fantastic bonus. It's a fantastic plus for what we have here in Bismarck and Mandan. I would encourage everyone now, again, you've heard a lot of great information. Dot, you want to give out the social media, the website? Where they can get hold of you?
So we've got a lot of information available on our website, which is bmhba.com. That stands for the Bismarck Mandan Home Builders Association. And then you can also find us on Facebook. It's just BMHBA as your search, and then also you can follow us on Twitter as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for listening today. I want to thank my guests, Dot Frank and Jeff Sattler from the Bismarck Mandan Home Builders Association. And have a great week, everyone. Thank you.